my experiences with Brandon. It all started 2 years ago in the fall of 2010, and I had come in as a new teacher. So I was heading down here to check my chapel row for the first time ever. And so I get here, and I'm hoping I can meet all you guys and talk with you and laugh a little bit. And the first name on the list, of course, is Brandon. So I say, "Hey, Brandon, bow." Okay, so I'm expecting maybe a smile, maybe a wave, maybe a fist bump. Okay, and that didn't exactly happen. This is kind of actually what happened. And I was like, "Boy, this is going to be a long year." Yeah, so actually, it's kind of weird to be a chapel checker, okay? Because you sit there all the time, and you don't always get to meet or talk to all your guys, so you don't really know a lot about it. So you sit there and you start to wonder, okay, what kind of guy is he? Is he like a golfer? Is he like an artist? And I don't know why, but there's something about Brandon that I thought he was like a drug dealer or something. Yeah, and so that first year though, we didn't really talk much. I'd see him around campus, and I'd say hi to him, and he'd kind of like stare at me kind of weird, because like, I don't know who you are. That was okay. Okay, so last year, okay, still don't really see Brandon that much, don't talk to him that much, but I started to hear things about the sports he was involved in and the clubs he did, and how he was a great student, okay? And now on to this year, okay? So this year, I got to teach Brandon in 2 different classes, and we have become good and close friends. He has a great sense of humor, he's very kind, and he is a very talented guy. Gentlemen, without further ado, Brandon Bow.
Great introduction, and I'd like to thank all my guests for coming, and my mom. So I guess we'll get started here. Obstacles are a natural part of life. We each face challenges every day, whether they are in the form of Dr. Woodward's DBQs, or Mr. Ron's 2-period physics tests, or something far more burdensome. They affect each person differently, and while some are hesitant to rise up against those obstacles in fear of failing to overcome them, others conquer the challenges placed in their path with ease. The summer before my sophomore year was one of the most difficult challenges that I've ever had to face, and hopefully will ever have to face. It was July 5th, 2010, and I woke that morning to find that I was having some unusually painful stomach cramps. The cramps continued for about another day before I was finally admitted to the hospital to see what was wrong. For a few days, the doctors tried to figure out what was wrong, while at the same time trying to get me to hold down food, which seemed impossible. It turns out that it was in fact impossible, since the problem concerned my digestive system. When I was only a few weeks old, I had meconium ileus surgery, which is another complicated matter that I won't go into. And it turned out that the scar tissue from that surgery had essentially wrapped itself around my digestive system, disabling me from eating or drinking. I was immediately scheduled for surgery and was given a port at the same time so that I could get nutrients. Over the course of a few weeks, I had 2 different surgeries. I couldn't eat or drink anything during that time for fear of complicating my situation, and couldn't walk for part of the time either. Then came a series of medical complications during the second operation that worsened my situation severely, and I was subjected to 2 more surgeries. I don't think that I will ever forget my immediate reaction of anger when I woke up after that second surgery, only to realize that I wouldn't in fact be leaving the hospital in a few days, but rather after an indefinite time. In fact, I was told that due to these complications, the doctors did not know when I would be released. It could have been weeks or it could have been months before I left. The thing that they could tell me was that the only way that I was going to make it out of the hospital sooner was to try to cooperate and rehabilitate myself rather than wallowing in my situation. So I did everything I could to better my situation. I tried to get myself walking again by taking slow laps around the PICU floor. I cooperated to the fullest extent that I could, which included not being tempted to take a drink of water. After a few more weeks of rehabilitation, I was facing freedom. Finally, after 33 days in Erlanger Hospital, which included 4 major surgeries, I was released. I still wasn't able to eat or drink, but after a few more days, I was able to have light liquids, which included my first drink of water after 42 days. I learned shortly after from my doctors that there were a few rare cases in the past that were similar to mine, in which the patient had taken drinks of water from the bathroom sink and had not made it out of the hospital due to their mistake. I had to gradually adjust my system to eating and drinking again over the course of several months. My first solid meal was on my birthday, August 18th. My family went out to Olive Garden, and commercialized Italian food had never tasted so good. The doctors treating me suggested that I take off a semester in order to make rehabilitating myself easier, but I did not want to graduate a year behind. I tried to pull myself together and make it to school for the beginning of my sophomore year, so I came to school 2 days late on the first Friday. Later that night, during the first football game of the year, I joined the band and played my saxophone for the first time in more than a month, although I had to play sitting down. My GPA from that year was much lower than normal, and I struggled to keep up in my classes, but I somehow managed to make it through the year while at the same time regaining my strength. There were several backlashes from the hospitalization, such as another surgery later in the year, the continued physical rehabilitation, and another hospitalization in which I was supposed to stay for 2 weeks, but ended up being released after less than a week and continuing the IV antibiotics during school for fear of getting behind in classes. During my time at McCallie, I've attempted to let certain activities and traits define myself, such as being easygoing, being a good student, friend, musician, and as my friends have put it, being a music snob. However, there's one characteristic of my life that I don't want to be defined by, and that characteristic is the obstacle that I've been trying to overcome since birth. When I was only a few days old, I was diagnosed with the genetic disease cystic fibrosis, which affects the pancreas and lungs, among other things. Although CF is difficult to sum up in just a few sentences, my lung function is lower than the average person, and my pancreas doesn't create many enzymes to digest food, so I need to take enzymes with meals in addition to physical therapy. In order to take care of myself and keep my respiratory system in good shape, I had to complete 2-hour-long medical treatments in the morning and night, in addition to taking enzymes among a slew of other medications. I don't wish to be defined by this aspect of my life because I don't want to be viewed by my classmates as needing extra help or not able to compete, just because I have to do certain things that the average person doesn't have to put up with. Although I have unique challenges to overcome that most people don't have to face, everyone in the audience today has their own battles to fight, and some of them are likely worse than mine. Whether that battle be a simple homework assignment or something far more serious, everyone in the audience is in a position where they have two choices: to give up and let challenges dominate and dictate your life, or to face those challenges and work to overcome them. If you let difficulties run your life, you'll never be able to achieve your goals, but if you strive to conquer them, then you will lead a life well lived. The point of the story from earlier in my talk is that I wouldn't be standing here before you today had I not overcome that challenge. And while I'm certainly not the most successful person in the chapel today, I've tried to make the best of my situation and overcome the obstacles in my path through a positive attitude. In my opinion, keeping a positive attitude is the best way to manage everyday challenges. And I can say with certainty that I wouldn't have made it through the first 18 years of my life had I not tried to maintain a positive attitude and look for a silver lining in every struggle. For example, if I hadn't been in the hospital with nothing to do for such a long time, I might not have learned to enjoy practicing guitar. If there's one thing that I'd like to leave you with today, it's to always keep a positive attitude. There are going to be rough spots in each of your lives, and maintaining a mindset that is constantly looking for a silver lining is the best way to overcome them. In the end, how you deal with challenges helps define what kind of person you are, so always continue to strive to defeat those challenges. Thank you. If I leave here tomorrow, will you still remember me?